Gents, focusing up and down the table, let's preview and select our score predictions for Week 2 action across the Premier League. There's a lot of intriguing games this weekend. Let's start at the top of the table and kind of focus on the title challengers, or who we expect to be the title challengers this season. First up, Man City against Newcastle. Nick Mendola, what do you think from this game? Because City won the Super Cup against Sevilla on penalty kicks in midweek. Newcastle battered Aston Villa 5-1, especially in the second half. The subs made a big difference in that one. But in theory, this should be a very tough game for City for their first home game of the season, the reigning champs.
Yeah, honestly feel like, and this is a crazy thing to say for anybody who's been watching the league and maybe not appreciated Newcastle's rise. If this wasn't at the Etihad, I would think Newcastle would win. I would literally figure on them winning just because Man City played such a strong team at midweek and thinking about early season legs and rotation and all that. But Man City is still so good. And I'm looking at this game, and I think it's got draw written all over it. The skill level of Newcastle, the speed that they can play with, mixed with how strong they've been at the back, tells me that they can compete in any game they are, that they want to compete in. And when I look at City, the best team in the world right now, the most complete team in the world right now, I think they have the ability to deal with this. They have done it before, but being so early in the season, there's something in it to me that says this actually could be turned into a bit of a slog by Man City. I think Pep Guardiola, with Kevin De Bruyne out, is going to want to keep the ball. And I think he may keep the ball in a little bit less sexy of a way than we've seen over the years. So I don't know. This looks really even to me. And so, I hate when people predict draws because it feels like a little bit of hedging and how can you guarantee both teams score? But I just don't see a lot to divide these teams given the week that Man City had.
Yeah, I went with a 2-2 draw, so I'm going to agree with you there for that one. And I think you're right. I think this is a good time to play City. They looked a bit rusty against Burnley, same against Sevilla, still trying to figure it out. Then De Bruyne being out, obviously, we know that it's going to be a big miss. I mean, they've got a great squad, so many great players to step in, but Kevin De Bruyne is Kevin De Bruyne, right? And him being out for up to 4 months potentially is a huge blow for Man City as they try and look to retain and win the Premier League title for a 4th straight season. Okay, Andy, Crystal Palace against Arsenal. Arsenal, again, dealing with a big injury to a key summer signing, Urian Timber. Palace, routine win away at Sheffield United on the opening weekend of the season. Michael Olise is sticking around as well, signing a new contract, so that's a big boost for them. What do you think? Potential banana skin here for Arsenal at Palace?
I want to say yes, but I don't see it the way that Arsenal played up until they conceded against Forest. It looked like mid-season form. It really did. Like they were able to pick up seemingly in preseason where they finished last season, and maybe they didn't finish the best last season. Obviously, they cough up the title, but the mentality there has just completely changed, I think, and that's the most noticeable thing from watching them, aside from how entertaining and fun and attractive the football is, and all those like positive things about Arsenal that are very much true now, and a little bit annoying because they were all true about Spurs a few years ago, and now it's very much the complete opposite. But they have an identity now, and that's the thing that they missed for so long. They're really incredible attacking team, but they play hard as well, and so they will not have, I don't think, the kind of slip-ups that they've had in recent seasons against teams that they should be comfortably beating, and that is a team like Palace. And so to me, this is pretty much just routine for Arsenal until proven otherwise. I will just about put them in the same category with City, that every weekend I look and say, all right, probably going to see Arsenal go out there and really perform and dazzle and also get a win.
I think it'll be tough, but I could see it's like a 2-0 Arsenal kind of game where maybe they get one just before the break and then get another one late on. But we know how good Palace are at home and putting pressure on teams and whipping in great crosses. Obviously, I don't have Zaha this season, but yeah, I think 2-0 Arsenal sounds about right. And Andy, some great words there on Arsenal. I know how hard that is for you as a Tottenham fan, but you're right. They're in really good form early in the season, aside from a weird 10-15 minute spell against Nottingham Forest. And the signings of Declan Rice and even Kai Havertz make them so much stronger. And it is a shame to see Timber go down with that injury, but they do have a lot of other defensive options that can slot in there as well. So think Arsenal are in a pretty good spot. We spoke a lot earlier in the show this week about Tottenham against Man United. I'll be there in North London for that game for PST. I predicted a Tottenham win, Nick, because I thought that they will make more of the chances United will cough up than Wolves did in the first game of the season, and they have better attacking players in the final third. So that was my kind of belief. But a quick word on United, Spurs, and where we think they're going to be at, not just this weekend, but for this season.
Yeah. First of all, dear schedule makers, Saturday is going to be amazing. Three 10 o'clock games, Tottenham Spurs sandwich before Man City Newcastle. And I think this game will deliver because of the newness of the Tottenham project. I think it's probably going to give Man United some chances forward that they won't get from Tottenham later in the season. Let's put it that way. And so I really like Man United here. If it wasn't at Tottenham, which I think is going to be behind their players and in a bit of a defiant mood as well following the sale of Harry Kane, I would bet on Ange, especially after that awesome thing you mentioned earlier in the show where he came over and clapped up the away fans before the game. This feels like a real chance for Tottenham to come together, and Man United looks a little wobbly at this moment. Maybe they want the Harry Maguire thing finished. Maybe they want another midfielder in. But I think this could be a nice week for Tottenham.
Nice. And then we focus on maybe some of the European challengers, top 4, top 6 hopefuls. Liverpool, Bournemouth. I like what Bournemouth are trying to do, but I see a Liverpool win here, even though the midfield was slightly unbalanced. It's not going to be the 9-0 win that we saw last season for Liverpool in this fixture at Anfield, but I could probably see like a 3-2 or a 4-2 to Liverpool. I think they're going to give up big chances, but they got enough great players going forward to finish off. And I saw enough from Szoboszlai and McAllister at Chelsea to think they're going to be really big players for Liverpool this season if they're in the right position and if Liverpool finally sign this holder midfielder they want to get. Wolves against Brighton, Andy. Wolves were very good, weren't they, under Gary O'Neill at Man United, and just unlucky. But Brighton are Brighton. They sold big players, replaced them with, Dahoud coming in on a free transfer, which is excellent business, as you pointed out in the past. And they just keep on going on. So probably a Brighton winning this one, but wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw at Molineux.
Yeah, Wolves were, and this will sound patronizing a little bit, they were so good defensively that they set themselves up to be really good on the counterattack because they were able to hold United at bay for long periods of possession, which just meant United crept forward and crept forward and crept forward until suddenly there was nobody back there, and Wolves were happy to take it on the counter. And so they, very basic from Gary O'Neill coming in with just a training session or two to get them to perform that well against United. I was very impressed. I still think, though, over 38 games, you just look at what's there, and they're probably going to struggle over the course of the season. And so looking at Brighton, the system is the team, man. The system is the star of Brighton, and it almost doesn't matter, this is multiple managers now. It doesn't matter who's in charge. They are going to have a good system with good players who fit that system. The recruitment, just the way that club operates, it's perfect.
Yeah, pretty perfect. So maybe Brighton sneaking that one away at Wolves this weekend. Nick, Fulham against Brentford, these two teams, West London rivals, already met in Philadelphia. You were down in Philly for that one. 3-2 win for Fulham. Kind of a bit downbeat, I would imagine, at Craven Cottage right now. Mitrovic looks like he's actually going to go to Saudi Arabia now and had a bit of a U-turn on that situation from the club. So they're losing their top goal scorer. But they've done some good business as well this summer, bringing in Raul Jimenez and Adama Traore as well. So I don't know. I could kind of, again, sitting on the fence, but I can see a draw between Fulham and Brentford this weekend.
I'm going to really make some people angry. I feel bad about it because I met so many cool Fulham fans in the tailgate. I really think they're going to struggle. I think at some point this season, Marco Silva is going to be like, why didn't I take that money? Because especially without Paulinho, this team was outscored by a full expected goal this weekend. Whereas Brentford, if you ask me which team's going to deal well without having Mitrovic or Ivan Toney, Brentford's way better set up for that. It's however a rivalry. It's happening this point in the season, and it's happening at the Cottage. I really think this could go either direction. But if you wanted me to bet on one of these teams, I would bet on Brentford.
There we go. West Ham, Chelsea, the other side of London, west to east from Chelsea to West Ham. Big rivalry game as well, Andy. West Ham, bringing in James Ward-Prowse, Edson Alvarez, using the Declan Rice money decently so far, I think, to upgrade the options. But I guess how long is David Moyes going to get, I suppose, is the big question here, because if he leaves, then all of a sudden, with the squad they have, not sure with another manager how it all fits and how it all works. But we've seen how it all fits and works with Chelsea under Poch against Liverpool. Very impressive display, I thought. The longer the game went on, the better they got. I spoke to Levi Colwell afterwards, who was making his Chelsea debut, academy product. He said the same. He said even for him, he felt more comfortable coming out of the back with the ball. They played a 3-5-2 formation, and it was quite unusual for Poch to do that. But I feel like Chelsea are in a better position. We talked them up pre-season, didn't we? But I feel like watching that first game, they're in a better spot than we thought they were. So I'm kind of seeing a Chelsea win this weekend.
Yeah, just wait until they start bringing back multiple players that are out with injuries. I'm talking about Moises Caicedo, obviously being the big one that they just brought in. Lavia still to come in. Badiashile coming back in a little while. And Kunku about the middle point of the season. Like, this team is going to grow and progress to start the season. And then they're, to use the Arsene Wenger ism, then they're going to have a couple new signings. It's going to be like coming into the team in the middle of the season, and I think they're going to jump up to another level. And so, slow ramp-up period for them, but they were good. They were really good against Liverpool, and they're figuring some things out. I think they handle West Ham fairly easily.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one in East London. All right, looking at some of the new boys and sort of teams, relegation scrappers, I think. Not Aston Villa, that's transitioning from teams who will be battling for the top 6 there in Europe, but they host Everton, who probably are going to be in a relegation scrap, considering they can't find a goal scorer or can't finish off chances, Nick, because they should have beat Fulham last week. I mean, they battered them for most of that game, couldn't put away a chance, and then they let up a goal at the other end, and it's just crazy. Sean Dyche, we know he organises the team so well. They're just missing those key players at the top end of the pitch. So probably going to go for an Aston Villa win there. They ran out of steam, obviously lost Tyrone Mings to a big injury, lost Emi Buendia to a big injury. So injuries haven't been kind to Unai Emery at the start of this season. But I think Villa at home, pretty good value to beat Everton. It might be tight, it might be tense, but I think they've got enough attacking weapons there. And Nottingham Forest against Sheffield United. Forest played well against Arsenal in the second half for spells. At home, brought in some good players this summer, looking to build on their success of staying up last season. And Sheffield United lost some of their big players. I just don't know what the expectation is there for the Blades this season, other than trying to finish in 17th place any way that they can. So, Andy, can you wrap up Forest Sheffield United for me and give me a score prediction for that?
Yeah, Sheffield United, kind of like we thought last season, I think, with Nottingham Forest, going to be a long season, and it was until the very end, and they kept themselves up. I just don't see it from Sheffield United this weekend. Like, they offered nothing against Palace, and that's just a kind of a mid-table, generic Premier League team, if you will. And they didn't really have anything for them in that one. And I was hoping to see something, because when you're a newly promoted team, you need to ride the momentum of getting back up into the Premier League, and there just was none of that. And if that's how the season starts, I shudder to think about what November and December and January and even getting into the spring could look like. So I think this is Forest. They were not terrible against Arsenal. They did a few things well. They just came up against a really good team.
Nick, final word on Everton there. I said they're going to struggle this season. Do you agree with that, with Sean Dyche? I know you're a big Dyche fan.
I don't think that they're going to struggle for the duration of the season. I think this week we'll get to see the opportunity to, a couple of years ago, if you ever wondered, well, what if Burnley wore blue? Like, I think that's what it's going to look like this week. But I think they're going to be about where they were last year table-wise, but it's going to be a more comfortable ride to get there.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.